This week on Phantom Power Hour.
I'm sorry, I just can't get over his like $87 million gross revenue for this game.
Man, Pokemon has some fire music.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Fully orchestrated, really well-written music that does just dynamically change in the middle.
Just looking at the music and how it influences story, it's like, my gosh. Hello.
Happy post-Thanksgiving.
It's nice.
Yeah.
How was your Thanksgiving?
Man, it was good. I definitely did the obligatory eat way more food than, physics would allow possible inside of my body. Somehow it still fits.
I did pretty good. I did all right.
Yeah?
I did all right.
Did you not get completely untethered?
Not totally. I mean, a little.
Well,
It's Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I think it would be sacrilegious not to get a little untethered.
Sacrilegious.
Sacrilegious. I was at Kara's family's Thanksgiving, and they just had desserts on desserts. And so after the full dinner, where I'm pretty sure I was like past the point of being full, most definitely, got a plate, one of every dessert, because I had to try everything, like little pieces, but still one of everything. So it was like a full plate of desserts. Ate so much of that I fell asleep on the couch. And then I woke up and I got another plate of every dessert. Oh man, it was buck wild, but it was good.
We had 6 adults. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 adults and 2 kids. And we had 8 pies that were there.
A pie for everyone.
That's a lot of pie.
Well, hit me with those pie details. What are we working with?
My daughter made her first pumpkin pie.
Ooh, nice.
She's 7, and it was awesome. It was probably the best one there. There was a sugar cream pie.
Okay.
Derby pie.
Derby pie.
You like derby pie?
I've never had derby pie.
It's like a chocolate chip cookie that's undercooked in a pie. It's amazing.
That sounds excellent.
That's the West Virginia family.
Okay.
That's ooh.
Did the derby pie originate from like a demolition derby or something?
Couldn't tell you. I don't know.
It's like
A demolition derby?
the dessert of the day for the event.
Just crash a bunch of ingredients together. It's kind of what it seems like, but it's delicious.
I bet. It sounds great.
If you like chocolate. Pecan pie, what else?
Oh yeah, pecan's great.
I don't know. There's a lot of desserts. And a parfait.
Ooh,
Thanksgiving
fancy
parfait.
with it. We had oatmeal dirt pudding. Oatmeal. Sorry. Oreo dirt pudding.
I was gonna say that's an interesting one, but
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I'd try it. I love oatmeal though.
I do too.
And then you have to have like a pumpkin pie, a pecan pie. So we had that. And then Kara's brother-in-law, he started a channel with a bunch of his buddies. And I think it's called Cooking with Scissors. And the whole channel is just them making different meals, but the only thing that they can use to cook are scissors. So he made what he calls scissor pie, but it was a chocolate pie and a peanut butter pie, and they were super goopy, but they were delicious. They were very good.
I have to follow this.
Yeah, I believe that's what it's called, Cooking with Scissors.
There it is. Cooking with Scissors. 8 subscribers. Never watched this, but go subscribe. This is brilliant. Peanut butter jelly time.
Yeah.
No. This is art.
It's high art for sure. He showed me a preview of an upcoming video, and he has these like foldable tiny scissors, and the whole thing just starts out with him like unfolding them right in front of the camera, and it's classic. It's great.
I mean, I think it'll work. My kids watch like there's a cooking show, but everything's miniature, and all you can see are like fingers, and they're using everything's in a very small like dollhouse kitchen, but the oven works, and they're using spoons that are this big, and they're frying eggs that are like this big.
What is it about that kind of satisfaction that you get? Like, there's something in the brain.
I'd rather watch somebody cook with scissors than that.
That's fair. That's fair. Have you seen the videos of it's like a little mouse or something, but it looks like it's live scale, like full scale kitchen, but it's a mouse sitting in there cooking
Oh
little
yeah,
meals. I
I
feel
have
like that's
kids.
the
I've
same
seen all the
vein.
weird stuff. Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. Did you do any Black Friday, Cyber Monday shopping? Did you end up copping anything new?
Trying to think. I think I did. I got a couple things. Uh, they had nothing to do with Black Friday, I don't think. But what was it called? Tone projects.
Tone projects.
Yeah. So there's Michelangelo, which is an EQ, bass
And a Ninja
lane.
Turtle.
So it's like it was an actual model of a heady amps unit,
Oh, okay.
Michelangelo, but there's so much more functionality. It's like very like high level tool plugin stuff. Like it's a lot to unpack, and I have a lot more reading to do to figure out exactly how to use it. But even just the first initial things, like these plugins are unlike any tool I've ever used, because there's a couple of them. There's the Michelangelo, which is an EQ, but it's also kind of a multi-band compressor and a transient designer, as well as a saturator. Then there's Unisum, like a mix bus compressor, which you can automate every individual aspect and then trigger multiple release types off of how hard the transient is hitting it in a certain multi-band range.
Interesting.
And then bass lane, which I haven't really figured out quite yet, but it's like how much bass do you want in your stereo field? So obviously you can collapse it down to mono if you want, or you can add like width and girth to the sides, which is it's super cool.
That sounds very interesting. I also can see myself getting heavily lost in the weeds.
It's very head, like you get in your head with it. But if it feels very much like you have those certain tools that you just use because you know them. I feel like if I get to know these really well, they're just gonna stay forever.
I mean, they sound super versatile.
It's I don't know. Time will tell. I'm still figuring them out, but they're really cool.
Was that the only weekend purchase?
Let me search by purchases, because there was something I got and I can't remember. Yeah, no, I avoided like every Black Friday deal.
I try to find some really exciting deals. The only thing that I got a AT 2020 because
you did,
yeah,
nice,
$80, normally $100.
I mean, that's easily one of the best mics under $100.
Yeah, and I didn't have like any type of condenser at home, so just something for if I'm trying to record anything.
Perfect.
That I don't need a 57 for. I got it. But
wait, which one did you put on your $1,000 studio build?
You had the 2020 on your $1,000 studio build.
So you couldn't use it.
I couldn't use it. And I had the 57, and then I got the I don't remember the model number. It was like a CE.
Was it the SE something microphone?
I had never heard of it before.
Anyway, we should go back and watch that episode, and you should too.
Oh, shameless plug. That was a fun episode, though.
I want to do it again. If you guys have ideas for like weird challenges like that was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun. I'm thinking maybe different like rig challenges, so not only home studio builds, but
I want to take build to like the literal form of the word. So if we get like a mic kit and we have to build it.
Oh,
like
I like that.
Soldering and everything.
Yeah.
Just have fun with the fumes in here.
DIY contest. That'd be dope. That'd be a lot of fun. I know that you and I are both connoisseurs of LTT videos.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever watched any of their Intel or AMD upgrade videos?
Yes.
Man, Sweetwater, hear my plea. Let us do some kind of like Sweetwater renovation, build a studio, make a video out of it. That'd be awesome. And it would help other people out.
It'd be in your space though.
Yeah.
Because you don't have, I don't want to redo mine. That'd be a lot of work.
No, I'm saying like we do it for other people.
Oh, that'd be
because that's what they do for LTT, and we,
I feel
whatever
like they go
they
through
want.
the staff though.
Well, they do, but we don't have a staff.
That's why I was like, it'd be you. You're just trying to get a room.
That seems a little, I don't know. That doesn't seem right if I'm the first one to get the upgrade. I'll take it. Don't get me wrong, but
There you go.
yeah. That would be a lot of fun. Just like, what kind of studio do you want? Or I guess they have to pick out all their stuff, huh? And then we go in and we would build it.
Mm-hmm. And then Linus goes in and he's like, what did I spend my money on?
Yeah.
I spent how much on these speakers? You stole this from the office.
There you go. Man, if there's one person from that whole crew I wish I was just like tight friends with, it'd be Dan.
Which one's Dan?
Dan is the producer now for the WAN show. And he like does a lot of the high-end speaker reviews and other things like that. He kind of just wears a bunch of hats over there.
Is he the other guy on the WAN show? Like with Linus?
So the one sitting at the desk is Luke. There's Luke and Linus.
Oh, that's right.
And then Dan is the other one that is like, sometimes his face will pop up when he's reading.
I can't picture him. It's like background all the time for me, but I don't know who's who.
He looks so much like one of my old high school buddies, Anthony, and I think that there's something there too. It's like, you look like somebody I know, and you're fun and cool. Cool to me. I mean, they're a bunch of nerds, so I guess.
That's the type of stuff I would love to do in here. Like, let's do a wish.com recording studio.
Dude, that'd be awesome. That'd be so fun.
And there's a lot of stuff on there.
Wish, Alibaba, Temu. Yeah.
How you say it?
I say Temu, but
Temu?
it could be Temu.
Emu.
Or what's the other one? Back Market.
That sounds shady.
It does sound very shady, but I think it's a new kid on the block.
The shady kid on the block.
Shady kid on the block. Home studio, Scrapyard Wars.
That'd be fun.
That'd be so fun.
So here's the thing. You need to subscribe so that means more money flows into the channel so we can do really stupid stuff like this.
And actually go like get and build the space out instead of just like make a shopping cart list, which is fun. That was a lot of fun, but
it was.
Got bigger, better dreams here.
Next level, people. Subscribe.
So I mentioned that I like nerd stuff because I'm also a nerd, and that ties in because I'm real tired this morning, Jeremy. I'm real sleepy.
Chug that energy drink. I see you.
I've got to pace myself. Not to don't let them know, but we're going to probably record more than just the one, so I need to pace myself. Man, I was up way too late last night playing Warframe. You ever heard of Warframe? It's one of them Vigi games.
You youngins.
It's
playing it on your Switch.
No, well, you could play it on Switch, but I was playing on the PC, the personal computer. And that's neither here nor there, really. I was just up too late doing it, but it's a lot of fun. But it led me into thinking more and more about like soundtrack music, video game music in games. And I know that we've talked in the past, you're not exactly like a super current gamer or anything of that nature, but have you experienced any soundtracks from video games in any kind of way? Even thinking back to like childhood, what are some that like stick out to you?
I mean, I haven't played it, but the latest Doom, like they redefined how music soundtracks work.
Oh yeah,
and that whole thing fascinates me.
Like, was that Mick Gordon? I think
I don't remember. Matt Halpern played drums, didn't he? I don't remember who the main guy was, but
do you know that because it's on the gym playlist?
Probably.
Yeah, it's definitely on mine. Rip and Tear. Oh man, gets you going.
But that whole process, like you're creating music for any number of variables, and then that gets triggered in certain sequences, and it's mind-boggling the number of variables that you have to account for. And like that's next level. Like it's hard enough to create a cohesive song. Now do it with any number of like character influenced.
Yeah. Or
holy cow.
Like here are these dynamics when you're not being attacked or something, and then here's how it swells into this section if you are. That kind of stuff is something I really have started to appreciate more and more from like the modern era of gaming music. And I think the one that hit me the hardest was the remake of God of War that came out, I think, PlayStation 4. And that game hit me pretty hard in a lot of ways. One of which, it was the first time I ever experienced a like one shot for the entire game. Like the camera is a steady one shot. There's no loading screens. There's like a loading area, but you're still walking around and it feels super fluid. Storytelling is great, but the music, I could get this wrong. I've never like looked into the actual behind the scenes of how this works, but it's like fully orchestrated, really well written music that does just dynamically change in the middle based on your area, the enemies attacking or not attacking, what's kind of the emotional content of that part of the story. And it's, I don't know, it just felt flawless the first time I played it. It felt flawless the second time I played it.
It's something I need to get more into. Like, if I had time to play video games, I would definitely do it because I used to, and games have come a long way since I played. But even like, what is it? It's not. It's a Zelda game.
Ocarina of Time.
Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom.
I haven't played that one.
Okay.
But like, just the music in that it's a character. And like looking at all game development, and this is probably more up your alley than mine, because I don't know anything about programming, that sort of stuff. But just looking at the music and how it influences story, it's like, my gosh, the level of communication between everyone. Like you have to think through so many variables, and I imagine the game's probably not wholly created when you're creating music.
Right.
So it's like so much planning, so much prep, and then you have the huge task of composing all of this stuff and then finishing it, mixing it, mastering it, get to work with numerous layers. Like I can't wrap my head around it.
Yeah, it's such a massive undertaking, especially for those larger like AAA games. And there's a couple points there in a few episodes ago when we were talking about different vocal tips and stuff. You had mentioned that when you're working with a vocalist, one of the main things that you're trying to do is have them capture whatever emotion they're trying to present, and that's kind of, from your perspective, one of the driving factors that can help make a song kind of feel like a great song. And I feel like video game music, not in every case, but in a lot of cases, especially modern games, really encapsulates that. And not only is it, oh, you're in a lush forest environment, so let's make lush forest music, but to your point with Zelda music, for example, you have full themes for these characters that feel like the character, or the character itself gives that theme a new personality. It's just so symbiotic. And it's one of those things that I don't know if I'm just becoming an old man or what's going on, but I'm just appreciating that aspect of things more and more, and kind of noticing like, oh, that this theme that I grew up in Ocarina of Time, just like way back in the day, is getting reprised in this modern game, and it hits that nostalgia button, but it's also still creating this environment that I immediately associate with what my eyes are seeing. It's magical, man. It's crazy. It boggles my mind how creative people have gotten in that sense, as well as how effective they are at making you feel something without even, as the user, realizing that's what's happening.
I wonder how somebody could take that and use it as like a songwriting tool. Like, I know there are kind of tools that are like user input based and kind of like sampling stuff, like Output Arcade is very much in that vein. But kind of taking this mentality of like video games and how things are triggered based on certain stimuli from the character, how could you write music like that?
Oh, interesting.
Like, could you,
like dynamic music? Is that kind of,
I mean, even like, so you create all these different layers, and these can be triggered based on one player. And that could, instead of playing a video game, you could play an instrument. Like, there'd be no reason, I suppose, and this is coming from somebody who knows nothing about what he's talking about, but I don't know why it would be any different. Like, if your stimulus could be an instrument you're playing in real time with things that you have already recorded, obviously, but you could essentially kind of get the music itself to react to you in real time.
Yeah. That makes me just, that takes me to like DJ land, you know, somebody with a
DJ
super
land.
DJ land, somebody with a like really stacked Ableton session, and they've got not only like music clips that go together, but they have their transitions, they have the effects that they can apply to any track, even video cues based on what clip they're triggering, things of that nature. And I
That's
feel
something
like,
I need to learn. I need to learn more about Ableton and that workflow because it's wholly different than what I'm used to.
mm-hmm,
The whole clip based thing.
yeah,
Can we make a video just you training me how to use Ableton?
we should do it. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It may not be the most effective or productive workflow for this kind of traditional band oriented environment.
But I mean, there's fair times where you just want to make some music, and
Exactly.
Pro Tools isn't necessarily the best thing for that.
Yeah, yeah. Or there's also other times where if you are working on either the scratch track or temporary parts, or maybe the artist is just wholly okay with flying a copy of this chorus to this next chorus.
Mm-hmm.
If you're using some kind of clip mode, you can make that I wouldn't say easier. It's just a different workflow. It's not a copy paste. It's all right, at this section, I can cue these triggers to go, and then you can record that to your more linear timeline. But
I know when I do pre-production, I love working in Cubase
mm-hmm,
just because there's so much with like the song structure element. I don't know what they call it. I don't remember, but you can define this as like section 1, section 2, or verse chorus, however you want to do it, and then literally play around with the structure and arrangement of the song
mm-hmm,
without physically moving anything around,
mm-hmm.
and then just recording your sections. And that made like pre-production for a project go so fast.
Yeah, I think you would love Ableton for that. Then same deal, because every clip, the view mode for like the clip sessions in Ableton throws off people, I think, when it's the first time they see it, if you're used to kind of the traditional timeline orientation. But each channel, each track is vertical now, and the horizontal lines with like the play buttons of the clips
Uh-huh.
line up together. So you can do them all individually, or there's like a master. On the master channel, you can hit play, and anything in that horizontal line will play together.
Okay.
So you could have intro is your top line, verse 1, pre-chorus, chorus, so on and so forth. And then you could, within that, have maybe you want verse 2 to start out without the drums. Well, you hit the master play, but then you automate the drum track, or just physically hit the drum track to stop for the first, 8 bars or whatever the case may be, and then bring it back in. And it's recording this whole performance of you triggering these in real time. So at any point you can go back and drag these clips that were recorded in, or redo a section, or copy paste the way you normally would.
So essentially you're writing automation through the process, or you can.
So you could do the automation, but this is actually taking those clips and not even re-recording them, but placing them into your linear timeline view, the same way you would in a regular session.
I think that's the mind block I'm getting, because those two windows aren't wholly related. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the part that's hard to get away from like a Pro Tools mindset, because Pro Tools is very linear, the entire thing, and you're just going to a mixer window.
Yeah.
So I know when I did operate it in Ableton, I'm like, is this the mixer window? This isn't quite a mixer window. What am I looking at here?
It's a mixer window with a little bit more. Yeah. So the tracks are the same, but the information on like your clip window contains information that's not necessarily going to be in your timeline. So
Okay.
they can work independently.
Here's something that could be fun. If you out there have a song that we can just play around with and do pre-pro for, Josh will teach me how to use Ableton, and I'll see if I can make my workflow work in Ableton. I think that'd be a fun little experiment.
It would be fun. And Ableton, what is it? 14 is coming out next year.
No idea.
I'm trying to remember what the current version is. I don't know. I saw an article about it earlier, but
Anybody works with Ableton and you want to float us an NFR so we can play around, let us know.
there you go.
Because I want to learn how to use it.
It's a lot of fun, and I think you especially would get a kick out of using Max for Live, like building your own synthesizers.
Ooh.
I might have touched on this in a previous episode, but you can take like this. It's an independent LFO. Set it to whatever rate you want to. It could be locked to tempo or just based on any kind of rate that you want and any waveform, and attach that to a macro to automate anything you want in Ableton. And you can do that with so many different things. So the LFO will be toggling. It'll be automating it can automate like a CC number, or it can just automate a parameter. Do whatever you want.
My mind's going, huh? Okay. So you could essentially, it could be reacting to something, and you could turn that into its own instrument.
Yeah. Same with a gate. You can have a gate that whenever you go past the threshold, it automates and triggers something else within Ableton, which you may be able to do in Pro Tools already, but it could be like once you break this threshold, then you reverse the delay instead of have your standard delay or something of that nature.
I mean, I can't really think of an easy way to do that in Pro Tools without going through multiple steps. Huh.
There's some cool tools that I would assume are fairly niche. In my mind, they're more oriented towards like just creative freedom, not necessarily utility. But I'm sure there are tons of tricks out there that people use for utility purposes that I'm not aware of, but it's fun to just, what does this do? Oh, that's weird. I don't know if I'd use it, but it's weird.
And sometimes that's exactly what you want.
That is, yeah. I mean, you just did a video, Recording Studio Loser channel, by the way. Check it out. It's good stuff. But you just did a video talking about how a lot of artists that, we appreciate and kind of make it big or have some kind of success, they know the rules, but they also know how to break the rules.
Them. Yeah. I was researching that. I think I was just listening to a weird playlist and it had most of that stuff in there. And it was like I was listening to Philip Glass, and it was like one of his violin concertos. And I was like, well, this is weird. And then later on, Billie Eilish came up in this different playlist. And then I'm like, this is a gold mine right here. Like,
yeah.
I mean, and I know it's information that everybody knows, but it's easy to forget and give yourself permission to like break those rules.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's maybe everybody has experienced the information, but I don't know if everybody has actively thought about the fact that Metallica has an album with no bass on it, or the fact that
it's there. It's very quiet.
Yeah.
It's very quiet. I mean, it may as well not be there.
Mm-hmm.
But I go back and think about that, like, because I was real into Metallica when I was little. I don't think I would have been mature enough to like diagnose what that mix actually sounded like. But I never clicked with me that there wasn't bass in there.
During your research process, did you come across any reasoning for that? Because I'm wondering.
For Metallica? Yeah. It was, I watched another video. I'll have to go back and figure out what that was. And if I find it, I'll link it back to you. I think it was an interview with the original mixer of that record. Lars wanted a very specific drum sound, and so they mixed the drums before anything else.
Interesting.
And I mean, obviously this is like analog, so they spent days getting this drum sound exactly the way he wanted it, and then the mixer came back in and basically was like, you're joking, this isn't what you want. And he got everything back, put the bass in, like James gave the thumbs up on it. They brought Lars back in, and he was like, what happened to my drum sound? So they had to reverse engineer this drum sound, and there was like no room for the bass. And Lars basically said, okay, I want you to turn the bass down to the point where you can barely hear it, and then turn it down another 6 dB.
Oh,
like, I mean, could you imagine being Jason in that moment? Like, you'd feel so degraded, all that work, and like nobody's going to hear it. But even interviews with Jason Newsted, because I guess the mixer went back and like remixed it for him, and it's been remastered since. and the bass is in there. Like
Okay.
you can find it. But the mixer gave Jason a copy with bass back in it. He's like, "Hey, this is for you." And Jason Newsted was basically like, "Well, that's cool, but that wasn't the record. That wasn't what like went out there and affected
Right.
so many people." So like you kind of get the sense that he was a little offended, but at the same time, like he's not really interested in changing the past. So
Yeah.
it was it was a really weird like back and forth, and only Lars could be that guy.
What do you remember the year that album came out?
Oh, was it early 90s?
That's what I was trying to remember. Because my thought going into that was, without knowing the actual story, was maybe it was some type of like headroom thing that they were going 88.
88.
So I was thinking maybe they were going for some like kind of headroom to keep all the like distorted signals sounding a certain type of way. I wasn't really sure, but then I was thinking, well, maybe it's because like the average listener at the time maybe didn't have a system that could keep up with a lot of low end, and so they catered to that. But I was just guessing. Yeah.
Nah, I think Lars is just Lars.
That's fair. That's fair. I don't know, Lars. Lars, if you're watching, which, I don't know you, dude.
Hello, sir. No disrespect. A little.
A little.
You can respect someone and wholly disagree.
Oh, that's very true. Yeah.
That's our relationship in a nutshell.
Oh, yeah, exactly. That was a rabbit hole, man. We were talking about video game music, and I was all stoked because I'm a big old gamer.
I wish you got to teach me. You got to get me into some games.
Warframe's free.
But I only have a Switch.
It's on Switch.
Okay.
You can join my clan.
I don't know what that means, but I'm down.
We have a dojo.
I don't know. I'm going to learn.
We're called the Purple Cobras.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. If you're a Warframe player out there, don't get too excited. I just got into it. I haven't even built a second Warframe yet. I'm trying to work my way through the blueprints. If you know what that means, right on. If you don't, that's okay.
Just put the numbers meme around my head for this whole thing.
Calculating the whole thing. So we talked about, implementation of music in the AAA titles like God of War, and even the Zelda series, which is phenomenal. But if you're into that world at all, then you've heard of Undertale. I don't know if you've ever heard of Undertale or not. Is
that a game?
It is a game. It's a wholly indie game. I believe you can kind of say it was made by one person. I think he credits like two other people, but from my understanding,
Toby Fox.
Yeah, from my understanding, it for sure wasn't any type of team throughout the entirety of the project. But he did all of it: the programming, all the level design, character design, and the music for it. And the music in it is really interesting and really well done. It's more, the music stylistically kind of pairs with what it looks like. Very 8-bitty.
Sorry.
No, that's all good.
I was curious. See, even this, like, there's 2 hours of music here. I couldn't imagine doing something like that involved.
Insanely involved. Yeah. But if you want to do some digging at some point, the revenue that has been made by one man making this game is absurd.
Let's check it out.
But he does, there are a few main themes in Undertale musically, some main motifs, and that just was one of the points that I wanted to bring back from talking about different motifs and themes in the Zelda series that pop up throughout the series that really does something to me as like a lifelong player. But Undertale has the same idea that these themes pop up throughout the game as you're playing in different fashions, and even with some of these like boss themes and stuff, you'll have that main motif, but it's just twisted in a little bit of a way to where it's recognizable, but then it's also associated with this type of character that you're going up against.
I'm sorry, I just can't get over his like $87 million gross revenue for this game
Yeah.
just on Steam.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's other avenues to sell, but
I think there are some others. I don't believe it's like a Steam exclusive or anything, but
so I mean, probably safe to say he's approaching 100 million.
mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh!
And is that for the game alone? Does that include OST sales? Because he sells his OST as well.
I don't know. It just says Undertale on Steam.
Yeah.
87
Yeah.
million.
Yeah.
Dude.
And from my understanding, it was just a passion project that this dude had.
Well, good for him.
Yeah. And the game itself is really intriguing. Lots of unique gameplay. I was a huge fan of Earthbound back in the day on the SNES. This stylistically has a lot of the same feel that Earthbound has, but there are some really interesting game mechanics within it. And it also has multiple endings. There's multiple paths you can take as a player of the game. And all of this still just mind-boggling that it's a independent, one dude just had a passion and a desire to make something. And he made something that, you know, against all odds has like kind of taken over a generation of gamers and stuff.
Huh. Breaking rules.
Breaking
Still
rules.
using 8-bit music.
Yeah. Have you heard of 8-Bit Music Theory, the
Yes.
channel on YouTube?
Yes.
If you haven't
It's
heard,
dope.
it's very good.
It's really good.
One of my favorite series that they do is they take examples of gaming themes throughout history and they associate them with the different modes. And that's how they kind of explain how modes can be used in a writing sense.
It's really cool. It's
Yeah.
kind of hard to wrap your mind around the first time you watch it, but he does a whole breakdown on like the Pokemon series.
Yes.
And it's so
The Pokemon
cool.
one is awesome. It's very good. Man, Pokemon has some fire music.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
And that also stylistically changes every game. I have a student right now who he wants to pursue potentially something in the realm of making music for games. And almost every week when we get together, he's showing me these different like themes from Pokemon and how each game has like its own overarching theme. And then within it, just like we were talking about, the different antagonists have their own kind of hodgepodge of themes that are in the same realm, but just different enough that it kind of adds the personality to that character. All of which is very cool until you start thinking about, especially the older games when it had to truly be 8-bit, that you're limited to, I think, 4 tracks for 8-bit.
I don't know.
They cover that in one of the videos when they're talking about like the old school Mario games and stuff, how like, and I think it was Donkey Kong Country. They were talking about how intricate a lot of these songs are. And then you have to imagine that you only have 4 tracks to work with. Yeah. But I just find that stuff fascinating. And I was up too late playing games. And it's been on my mind.
And we've come full circle.
Come full circle. Full circle.
Fur circle.
Fur circle.
Sour Patch Kids.
It's not my favorite flavor.
It's gross.
But it's the flavor that we had in the fridge.
Flavor in the fridge.
What flavor are you working on over there?
The worst of the Celsius. The kiwi guava.
Kiwi guava.
Yeah.
It's hard to make a good tasting kiwi guava drink, I think.
Just make it kiwi or just make it guava. Why are the two together? They shouldn't. Nope.
Are
Sorry.
kiwi and guava the peanut butter and jelly of the fruit realm?
If that's the case, I don't like peanut butter jelly.
Oh. You were right earlier on how we respect each other but disagree. Well, we made it through Black Friday, made it through Thanksgiving. Now we've got the winter holidays coming around the corner. What's on your wish list?
My wish list? Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
What are you on that so I want everybody to take a journey with me here, okay? Close your eyes if you need to. I want you to picture a snowy Midwest evening, and Jeremy sitting on his living room floor in his jammies. I'm thinking red plaid, long bottoms with maybe some type of like, you know, those blanket hoodies?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm feeling here. Possibly some form of pine scented candle burning, and that's his main source of light. And he's got a pad of paper, and he's got a pen. I like to think it's a quill pen, just to really set the mood. But
I'm
he's
old school like that.
yeah, and you're writing your letter to Santa,
Uh-huh.
or whichever holiday season caricature you decide to write your letter to. What are you asking for?
Probably a blanket hoodie.
But in this scenario, you're already wearing one.
I don't know. I mean, I have so much gear.
I know,
Like-
but there's got to be something like all reality. Just like, don't think about this thing is crazy expensive, or I don't have room for this, or I don't have enough utility to like justify this. What is that thing that if somebody were just like, you want this, you'd be excited?
Oh. Okay, maybe a couple things. Like, I want an old broken B3 so I can rebuild one.
Yeah, that sounds like a fun project.
Like I did with the Rhodes.
Yeah.
Because I bought an old Rhodes from the late 70s and rebuilt it, and it's awesome. Probably doesn't sound like every other Rhodes out there because I didn't know what I was doing, but I like the sound of it.
It does sound good every time I've heard somebody play it. Not when I play it. It sounds pretty bad when I play it, but
I have like an unhealthy obsession with wanting a Dingwall bass. I'm not even a bass player, but I want one.
I want one too. They're very cool.
Do
Do you want it? Do you just want it for like the fan fretting,
like the
or
tuning,
the overall aesthetic?
the tuning stability, and
Yeah.
I guess I'll trump that with
Evertune.
yes.
Yeah.
I want an Evertune. I would love for almost everything I have to be Evertune. I
Mhm.
don't want to think about tuning, and I just want it to work, especially bass. I don't know. And then we've had this discussion before, but
Mhm.
I just want it to be locked down
Yeah.
and stable, because then it works so well.
So, I think a broken B3 Santa could probably fit in his sleigh. The reindeer are going to be working overtime, but
That's a heavy boy.
he could probably do that.
I mean, he can also contract out like UPS or something.
That's true. That doesn't feel like the Christmas spirit, though.
I mean, come on. It's 2023.
It is 2023.
Santa's using all the tools at his disposal.
You know, he's got places to be, and you know, PETA doesn't enjoy how hard he pushes those reindeer.
They eat well, though.
This is true.
Yeah.
This is true. Do you think Santa eats all the cookies, or does he, break them off for his reindeer every once in a while?
I mean, you leave the carrots for the reindeer. They shouldn't be eating cookies. You don't want to.
Oh no, I
Yeah.
haven't been leaving carrots.
Buddy.
Oh, I see. This is my fault, and this explains my lack of
It's like
Santa gifts
hardworking
year after
dogs.
year.
Like, you got to feed them the proper diet. And
That's
they're gonna
true.
Keep going.
That's true. We've been over this. I'll throw hands over my dogs if I need to. They eat well. They're so spoiled, man. They're so spoiled. So B3, just a whole satchel of Evertune
Yeah.
bridges.
Oh, yeah. Or I'll take one if that's what I can get.
We'll get you a satchel.
Okay.
What else, man? There's got to be more that pops around your brain of like, oh, this would be fun to have.
What about you? You go, and then maybe that'll jog my.
Oh man, there's so much. I think it would be awesome to have an array of like true vintage equipment. And I'm thinking in like the guitar realm, because you always hear these people talking about the vintage sound of whether it's old Fenders or different amp series of some kind, the old Gibsons, all that kind of stuff. And I don't want it in the way that like collectors want it. That stuff interests me, but I like to have things that I use. And so I know that if I were to ever get my hands on like a 60s Strat or something, I'd be using it, which would make a lot of people upset, I think. But if there were a world where I could just have a bunch of these vintage pieces of equipment delivered so I could get hands-on experience to understanding what people are talking about and a clon,
Anticlon. Anticlon.
Anticlon. Man, I tried to get a Nauticlon. Did you see that JHS drop?
Yeah.
Yeah. Saw the video pop up on my feed as I was walking to the gym, watched it after the gym. In the middle of watching it, popped on their website.
They were already gone.
Out of stock.
Yep.
I was so upset.
They'll be back.
Oh, yeah. Maybe. Yeah. He posted, I think yesterday, the expected shipment dates for like every 2,000 units. And I think they're back ordered out until April or May already.
For not a clon.
For not a clon.
But, okay, the vintage instrument thing. Mm-hmm. So, I've played some vintage stuff, not necessarily instruments as much as amps.
Mm-hmm.
And preamps and stuff like that, because I have some vintage pieces, but I have to wonder about the hype sometimes. Because, and this is coming from somebody who has 3 vintage Neve preamps. Okay, stupid expensive. And I've been talking to a few people about this. I just picked up one preamp that I'm really hoping can replace those so I can sell them. Because I have a pair of old 1073s that young engineer Jeremy was like, I need these. And I think a lot of people are like, I need these, which they're great, but are they $10,000 to $15,000 great? I don't know.
I don't know either.
There's certain things with the vintage market, like I understand, and then some of it, I'm like, how much of this is a survivorship bias? Like, is it the fact that vintage gear is good, or just the ones that have lasted are good?
That's an interesting point I haven't really thought about.
Like when planes came back with like what was bullet holes in World War II, and they were like, oh, let's put armor over the spots where the bullet holes. I was like, no, put them where they didn't get shot, because those are the planes that went down.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
interesting.
So the ones we just look at, like all these, like a 60s Strat. Obviously, not all 60s Strats are great, but the ones that stuck around, I don't know. Or these amps, the ones that have actually lasted, are they were made on a good day?
Yeah.
By the dude who was paying attention.
Or they, component lottery, because you have tolerances in all the electronic parts, which is why, you can have 2 from the same era and they're not necessarily going to sound the same. I want to go down that path, but first, do you feel like with your Neve preamps or any piece of vintage gear, do you feel as though there's any type of responsibility for almost like archiving it in some kind of way?
Like what do you mean?
So I feel as though there's probably different hierarchies of vintage gear, right? That we hold more coveted than others.
Oh yeah.
So I feel as though if in my dream scenario I were given all these vintage, let's just stick with like a vintage Strat or something, right?
Yeah.
I feel as though I would have this internal need to like really take care of it and really like hold on to that and do everything I can to preserve it in some way, because it is a piece of history, right? And I feel like, again, there's a different level of hierarchy. I don't think anybody is, going to be saying the same thing about a Boss CE2 that was built in 2019.
You don't know that.
I don't know. That's true. The day that they were making all those Strats in the 60s and stuff, I don't think anybody was worried about people coveting them years to come. But I don't know. Maybe that's just like a materialistic, like silly thought. But at the same time, who's to say that there won't be like one, like this is the last one that's around, and it's like the year 2300 if we make it that long.
I mean, maybe not that extreme, but there's definitely a feeling that, okay, I have all these vintage pieces, and there's places that have way more vintage gear than me, so it's not like I have a huge collection, but they were definitely of the stuff that I could attain at the time. Like there was the wow pieces, right? the things that like some producers or bands could easily recognize and like, oh, you have like vintage Neve stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So there's part of that, but I mean the truth of it is like I sometimes don't even use them
For sure.
because they're so temperamental.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah.
Like, and you have two of these things, and you kind of would expect them to sound similar.
Mm-hmm.
Nope,
Yeah.
they're completely different.
Mm-hmm.
They're completely different. Even the EQs, like I know each one of them is very much their own thing, and I know what they are because I've used them for like 10 years at this point. But I mean, I don't think it's what most people would think a vintage Neve 1073 is.
Yeah.
Because there's so many clones, and those clones are cool, but it's almost like the old ones are like even more temperamental and more imperfect and grosser, and like that's a cool thing in and of itself, but
Mhm.
like, is it worth that massive price tag?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you think that it was worth it for you to get the hands-on experience with them?
At the time, yeah. I mean, I'm looking at this through the lens that now they're 15 grand
Right.
for the pair. When I bought them, they were like $3,000, which still that's expensive.
It's a lot.
And it was a lot for me at the time, but I mean, clearly that's been a decent investment.
Mhm.
Like the payoff on that is pretty good. But I don't know, like the price now, I'm looking at it like, oh, would I want to keep them? Sure. I mean, that's pretty cool. But if that price is so inflated, like, I mean, you kind of get into like scalper territory
Yeah.
a little bit, but at the same time, I don't know. I'm up in the air with what to do.
Yeah.
So
That's a tricky one because again, if I were in your shoes, I think I might feel differently if I had the pool of information that you have, especially understanding like the exact piece of gear and you know where it fits on that hierarchy of vintage gear. But part of me, I already have a hard time selling gear. We've talked about this. I have a hard time letting go of things, but something like that, I would have an even harder time. But then I have this other part of my brain that'd be like, well, you got to experience this. So now somebody else should get to experience it. You don't need to hoard it because you're not using it.
yeah, no, I think there's definitely something there, and there's very much like a Neve thing. There's a Neve sound, and I think a lot of people do it really well.
Mm-hmm.
Even in pedals, like
Yeah.
there's complete pedal lines. Like the color box is based off of
Mhm.
a Neve console, I believe. I mean, any number of bass DI boxes are a Neve front end is
Mhm.
what they're trying to recreate. And that EQ shape and how it hits low end is like, you kind of know what you're going for. So I think I've talked about this before. Like I bought an old original Yuri 1176
Mhm.
and I had it for like 2 weeks. I was like, I get it. Like
Mhm.
having worked with so many clones and so many plugins, then actually getting to use and track a snare through an actual 1176, like, got it. Don't need this one though. Like it just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
So it was in the door and out, and I essentially didn't pay anything for that experience because I got exactly what I paid for out of it.
Yeah. But you got the experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is huge. I mean,
Oh yeah.
that goes back to my Santa wish list. Like, I don't want those vintage pieces to have them. I want the experience that they would provide.
Okay.
The understanding of like putting the feel and sound in my own brain versus as hard as people try to give a good representation through a video or something, like at the very basic end, you're fighting the YouTube compression. But even then, like everything, I don't know. If you're a guitar player and you play with a modeler, you understand like nothing's going to feel the same as being in the room with something.
Right.
It's going to sound great, and you could make it sound just as good on a recording.
Mm-hmm.
But the feeling of being in the room with it, that's what I'm after. That's what I'm trying to get.
I just had this conversation with a really good guitar player, and this dude has an amp collection that most people would dream about.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just an insane player. And he's switching everything to modelers, Tonex.
Oh, nice.
And he was talking about that change And we got into talking about microphones, and it all comes back to like, how does it feel? The touch of it.
Mm-hmm.
And because he was asking, okay, so I lined up a bunch of different singers and put them in front of a whole lot of different mics. He's like, so what did you learn? And the thing I learned with it was every vocalist is going to respond differently to whatever mic you put in front.
Yeah.
But the thing that they're looking for is like that push-pull relationship of the microphone that's in front of them. And that's going to be different based on like the resonant peaks of the voice itself with the resonant peaks of the capsule they're singing into and
Mm-hmm.
the grill that's surrounding the thing. And it just creates like playing on a good instrument, like where it just wants to sing. And
Mm-hmm.
nobody in the audience is going to know what that feels like besides you.
Right.
But you're going to give a better performance because it feels right.
Yep.
And the performance is what really matters.
Yep.
Doesn't matter if you're going into an amp or a Tonex. Does anybody care?
Mm-mm.
Only you, because you're going to be the one to say like, this feels right.
Yeah.
And I think you can achieve that feel. I don't think that matters, whether it's amp or Tonex or Kemper or XFX, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's whatever feels right.
Yeah.
So don't know where I was going with that, but
I like it though. I mean, I don't know. Again, I think what excites me a lot is building up that personal experience in my brain. We talked a couple weeks ago about how I'm doing something like that, but just with random strings on my basses.
mm-hmm.
And there's a portion of that that's, optimistic that maybe I'll just find the one that I love. I don't think about that too much because I find usability in just about everything that I try. But really, it's more of like, I don't know, it's like that Pokemon gotta catch them all kind of attitude of like, I just want to try them all, because the more experience you get, as you understand, the more you pick up on the minutia of all these different things.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know, that part excites me, and being able to experience that on the vintage gear would excite me as well. But that was the first thing that popped in my mind for the Santa list. Any other Santa list gear that
I
you
don't
can think
so,
of?
man. I'm bordering on getting greedy here.
Getting greedy. Well, I mean, I think it's one of those like, send all your ideas to Santa and then he'll just pick one for the elves to put together for you.
I mean, I look around like I get to play with a lot of cool toys. So
This is true.
it's,
You don't want your own like Dolby Atmos room?
I mean, I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That whole side of the industry is real confusing, and
Mm-hmm.
again, conversations that I've had recently. So maybe that's a conversation for a different day.
That's understandable. Yeah. Well, Jeremy, is it that time for
Oh man,
us to talk about what we've been listening to?
you think I would come prepared?
Did you do the Spotify Wrapped dealio? No,
I don't use Spotify very much.
that's fair.
I've been a YouTube music boy as of late.
I do. I've finally switched over to that, but I haven't fully adopted it because I don't know. I'm so stuck in that pattern of just hitting Spotify and like knowing exactly where to go. But I have started finally using YouTube Music. I've had it for so long. I've had premium for a long time. My record rec this week is somebody that you and I both get down to, and we've used him in multiple sessions.
Okay.
Kishibashi.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The song that we always go to is Say Yeah. It's off his Sonderlust album.
So good.
So good. Did you watch his Tiny Desk?
I don't think so.
It's a few years ago now, but it was awesome. It was everything that you expect, like playing the violin, looping, singing, all the stuff. But Say Yeah is just such a jam. It's got this like new wave 80s vibe to it, and then out of nowhere, just a sick, nasty flute solo.
Yeah.
It almost feels like Ron Burgundy just jumped on the table and spit out some jazz flute. But if you haven't listened to Kishibashi, at the very least, check out Say Yeah. It's such a bop. It's such a good tune. The writing is very
Video
good.
is killer.
The video is so cool. It's like an old school, like makes me feel like it's Tron in a way. But that's my record rec. Well, I'll play a little bit of it. I think it's always good to give a little taste.
Those are like draggy 16s.
Oh yeah. And his like arcadey ARP sounds that are going on throughout the song. Then a little bit later,
It's a tasty bass line too.
got the violin string swells in the background that are really out of place, but fit perfectly at the same time.
And then out of nowhere,
Yeah. Just a super unexpected.
it's so good.
How did he get Ron Burgundy into the studio?
I don't know. It's such a vibe.
It is 110% a vibe. Makes you feel good no matter what's going on. I love it. What's your pick this week, Jeremy?
I don't know how to pronounce mine. I've never heard it said, but do you know this artist?
I don't. I would say Son, like John, but with an S.
Sohn, Sohn. I have no idea how.
It's all capitalized. Maybe it stands
Yeah.
for something.
I don't know, but the record Trust, this one.
Okay.
This whole thing is, somebody else showed this to me, and it's like a whole texture. It's killer.
Ooh.
So you've got like that kind of vibe. You've got
Oh, cool.
like it's really nice. Like it's just kind of turn it on and turn off type of record.
Mm-hmm.
Like just sit there while it happens to you.
Yeah, yeah. I'm definitely gonna check that out.
It's really cool. And from a mixing standpoint, like the most interesting things happening with like transients and like the side information on
Okay.
the record.
So it's
really
like
cool.
Is it a headphone type of listening experience?
I would listen to it on headphones or like the best speakers you can sit down in front of, because it's also very much like a binaural experience too. Like it could be, I don't think you have to listen to it any one way, but that's the things that I'm taking away from it are like, that's really interesting things happening on the sides.
So pull out the Anchor little Bluetooth speaker and give it a
There
listen.
you go. It's enjoyable without trying to break it down, but it's a cool record to break down.
Yeah. Very nice. Well, I'll give that a listen. I always like doing these because sometimes there's overlap and stuff that we both know, and then sometimes you just give me new stuff to listen to, which gets harder and harder. I feel like maybe that's just me. Maybe that's a me problem.
That's a you problem.
Yeah.
No, I think we can all relate.
Yeah. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed their Thanksgiving. If you celebrated that this past, well, I don't know, last couple weeks, I guess. It'll be 2 weeks ago. It'll be 2 weeks ago when this comes out. If you want us to do any more of those challenge videos of any kind, throw us all the ideas because we had a blast. I think we plan on doing more of those down the line regardless, but we want to make them videos that you're excited about and want to watch, want to check out. So let us know your thoughts in there. And I want to know what, if you were in your jammies sitting on the floor with a pine scented candle and a quill pen writing to Santa or any other winter holiday divinity, I guess.
Santa's divinity.
To some he might be. What's on your list? What's that maybe like one or two pieces of music, gear, or tech that feel out of reach for you right now, but you would absolutely love to have? Let us know in the comments, because that's always interesting to me. Everybody has their own niche and unique kind of desire, I think.
Niche.
Niche.
And if anybody has a song that we can do pre-pro on, so he can teach me Ableton.
Yes.
I'm down for that. Let us know if you want to see that.
Yeah. Well, until next time. See ya. That's a lie. I won't see them. I can't see them.
Well, they don't know that.
That's true.